Hi everybody, it's Christina from Card Making Magic. So for today's cards we're going to make 3 different sizes, and we're going to use the other components in the beautiful Baubles collection. So in this set you have 2 stamps, 1 stencil, 2 die sets and a beautiful paper pack. So I'm going to make a 5x7, a 6-inch square and a DL. And for this I'm going to use paper from the packs. So for the first one I've used the green and I've just cut a panel that will sit there. For the second one I've used the Baubles one. We'll make sure that's on the right way. And then for the next one I've used the red. And that's just going to be my backings for all the different sized cards. So for the edge of this one we're going to just give it a little bit of a shabby chic appearance. Now this is it's a distress tool, so this will just distress the edges of your paper. But if you don't have one of them, it doesn't matter. You can always use the edge of your scissors. And you're just going to go around and just roughen up those edges, which will take just a little bit of the paper off. And then once we've done that, we can then just go over it with some ink, and that will just give you a nice finish to the edge of your card. So I'm just using the ink that's on my brush. And then once I've done that, I can add that to my base card. Now from the paper pack you've also got this kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is cut these out and add these to the front of my card. So on this one we'll have the 5x7 one, and on this one we'll have the 6-inch one, and that can just sit along there. Now you've also got in there sentiments that you can cut out. So I've cut this one out and I've just backed it onto some gold card, and that can sit on one of my designs. So I'm just going to glue these papers in place, and then we can do some die cutting and stamping. So we'll add this to this, and we'll add this to the top and leave just a small border around the edge. Now you can add this to your card any way you want, that way, it's entirely up to you, but I'm going to pop mine in along there. And then we'll add this one in place on the DL card, and that can sit along there. And again we have just a small border around the edge. So I'm going to start with the DL card, and the first thing I'm going to do is put a verse to the inside. So I'm going to use a stamping platform. I'm going to add this verse to the middle of the card, and I'm going to stamp that with some black ink. So that's our centre done. Now I think we'll stamp the other centres as well while we're at it. So that's one done. Let's put the other one in. Now I like to keep my folds at the top, and for this one we'll use a different stamp. So there are my 3 centres done, and I've used a different verse from the Christmas verses set for each card. So while I have the stamping platform out, I'm going to use the stamps that will marry up with these particular stencils. So I've added the stamps to my lid, I've got my white card in place, and I'm just going to ink up the stamps and stamp them down. And I'm going to repeat that several times so that I have these beautiful baubles on my card. So I've stamped the baubles, and then with the with this stamp I'm going to stamp some of the branches. So we'll just add these down and we'll pop these into the centre of this card. Now you can die cut and colour as many of these branches as you would like, but I'm just going to do a few on this because I've already cut some out before. And we'll add this one here. Now before we do any die cutting, let's do some colouring with the stencil. So we'll take the stencil and we'll place the corresponding pattern over the stamped image. And I'm going to do these red, so I'm using Festive Berries. And I'm just going to colour this in now with my brush. Now mind you don't go over the edge into the other one. And then this pattern has this one on it. So again, we'll do this in red. Now there we are. The others can now be done with this pattern. So this can sit on there. We'll colour this with the red. There we go. And for this one, we'll use this one here. So we'll add this to the centre of this one. Now you can tape it in place if you wish. But I'm just going to do that. So now there's my baubles done. Colour the rest in and then we'll use the dies to cut them out. So I've added the corresponding dies to my card, to my stamped images. I'm going to cut those out. So for my die cutting now, I have stamped and stenciled the colour onto the baubles that I want to use. I've stamped and coloured the leaves. I've also cut some branches from the brown card, and then from the little bauble top in the pack and the string and gold card I have cut some ready to add to my baubles. Now on each of the baubles I need to add one of these little tops. Now before I add the baubles to my card, I'm going to dress them up with some bling. So I'm just going to add some spots of glue onto the baubles and dress them up with some diamante. There we go. Now in this one we'll put some clear diamante. So now with all my bling dressed up, I can start to add these to my cards. So for the DL card I need some of the brown branches and I'm going to add them to my card. So we'll flip this the other way around and we'll add that in that way, and then we'll bring these right to the bottom. Now in there we're going to add some of the leaves, and we can always trim it off at the top. But we'll add some of these leaves along here. Now this is just a dry run, just to make sure that I like what I have. There we go. And now onto this one we'll add the baubles. So we'll add the red one there and this red one there, and we'll pop some strings down there to fasten those baubles in place, and then maybe add another branch on the top just to cover the strings. So for the tops of my little baubles that are going on this card, I have cut some red card into the bow shape, and I'm just going to add this to the top of the baubles. So just a little spot of glue in there, we'll add that on there, and we'll do the same with this one, and then we can start to put the other pieces together. So they're going to sit on there. Now for the other bows, I've cut some in blue, and these are going to be added to this, and we're going to turn this one into a wreath with the branches. So we'll just add these little bows in. Now to save a little bit of time, I've pre-cut some leaves from green. These have been stamped and these have just been die cut. So with the branches now, I'm going to arrange these around my card, and don't be afraid to snip into them if you need to make them smaller. So all I've done is just break them up, and we're going to add these into a wreath. So these are some that have already been snipped. So we'll just add these around the card. And then on top of that, I'm going to add in some of the green leaves that I have cut from green card. So we'll just add this along here. Now if you want your leaves to face the other way, just flip them over and add them in to your card. And then on top of that, we're going to add in the little baubles. As I say, this is just a dry run to make sure that we like what we have. Now with some bright gold card and the Christmas is coming, from the Sentiments and Shadows die, I've cut my little sentiment, and I'm going to add that along there. Now for this last card, I have found in my stash a lovely gold glitter frame. So I'm going to add that to my card there. I'm going to dress that up with some branches. Now I may need to cut some more and add some more branches into this. I've not decided yet. But from that then we'll add in some leaves. And again, you can always trim them off at the top if you need to. And then from those branches we'll add in the little baubles. And they've got to have the gold bows added to them yet. So that's, and I've used 3 the same shape. So they can all be added in along there. And again, we'll add the sentiment along the bottom. So now that I'm happy with those designs, I'm going to go ahead and glue them all in place. So to glue these leaves in place, I'm just gluing them down the spine. And that gives them a little bit of movement on the edges to add some dimension to your cards. So we'll just add all these in, and as I said, if you want your leaves to face the other way, just flip them around. So we'll add all these into the card. Now bend them so that they come round into the circle, and we'll add this one along the top there. Now I want mine a little more full than this, So I'm going to die cut some more of the green leaves. So there are my 3 cards now made. I've used the sentiment and I've backed that onto some parchment for this card. For this one I've just added the sentiment as it is to the branches. All of the baubles have been added with either single foam pads or double foam pads, just to lift them up a little bit more. The glitter frame was one that I found in my stash. This sentiment is from the paper pack, and they've all been stamped inside with a really pretty verse for Christmas. So the items that I've used are the 2 stamp sets, the stencil, the 2 die sets and the beautiful Baubles paper pack. And I've created cards that are all different. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please join me on the next one, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.